From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, Cousin Sal and Jeff Ross. With Gina Grad on news, Paul Bryan on sound effects, and Vinnie Tortorich drops by. And now, don't hate him because he's beautiful. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but to your mandate. You get it on, man. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for sharing. We love that about you. Right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
Handball, Brian?
I couldn't have possibly had sex with that bird. I don't sweat.
Yeah, who was that gentleman of leisure? All right. First, a concept that we should all try to wrap our minds around, and then I'll get into some interesting Dr. Drew Orwellian stuff.
Oh.
Which is, we had the few years ago, we had the selfies, and somebody decided that the camera wasn't far enough from our big fat heads, and we needed an even more flattering angle, so we invented the selfie stick. Mm-hmm. And then people started walking around with the selfie stick, and everyone who took a picture would hold the selfie stick above their head and hold the camera 3 feet higher than their head. Then they would stretch their head out, giving them the chin and getting rid of the double chin.
Perfect angle.
Well, hold on. Sorry, Gina, a selfie is a picture you take of yourself and then put on social media.
Yes.
Just want to make sure.
She takes pictures of air fryers.
That's right.
But
pictures of onion rings.
Onion rings. So the selfie, remind me to talk about the onion rings and the air fryer and how you did that when Vinny shows up. But
sure.
We did the selfie, and somebody figured out, like I said, the best angle you'll ever present and the best view you'll ever have of yourself is when you're drunk and you're in an elevator in Vegas and you discover there's a mirror on the ceiling of the elevator. And then you look up and you go, oh, my God, who's this fashion model who's trapped
Thor.
in this?
I'm Thor taken to the sky.
Right. So someone did the math, which is, well, the mirror on the roof of the elevator is the best you'll ever going to look, right? And obviously, if there's a mirror on the floor, you're going to look like fried hell. So everyone on the floor, you go from, you basically go from Thor to Lou Pearlman, depending on whether you're looking up or looking down, right? So somebody said, well, we got to have the selfie stick, and we're going to have all this great. Everyone's getting fat, but that's all right. We're going to clear it up with a selfie stick. And it worked quite nicely, but it's all been undone by Zoom because I realize everyone's computer is just sitting on the table or on the desk in front of them, and your angle is 45 degrees. You can't hold the fucking computer over your head. The computer's never equal or level with your head. It's sitting on your footrest or your table or your
lap.
Lap, and you're just looking down, and now everyone has magically been transported back to Lou Pearlman. Everyone looks like fried hell now. And not only that, these aren't pictures. These are walkie-talkies. These are moving images. These are moving images. There's now 700 million hours of everyone with the worst angle they could possibly get on themselves. And it ain't just Zoom calls. It's, I'm going to do a hit on TMZ live or whatever. It's TV shows. It's whatever. It's all the worst angles. So I'm just saying all of the goodwill and all the work that we put in with these selfie sticks has all been undone in one fucking COVID Zoom meeting. And
we had the problem solved.
We had Thanos
solved. Beat.
That's right. And it all went away in a heartbeat. So I don't know if we're going to have to get someone's going to have to figure out something with the Zoom. Yes, Gina.
Can I help?
Please.
Can I shit on your point in a way that's going to offer a wonderful hack to everyone listening?
Gina's got a nice angle, so I want to hear about it.
I don't know if you noticed that you're not seeing this from, I'm not jowl forward when we do these. I use these cabinet stands so you can put like some cans on the top and you put the rest of the cans underneath. You put the cabinets in there and the pantry's all set up. I took one of the cabinet stands and I put it in the office. So now I have a laptop on top of this little stand that goes in my food pantry, and I'm not jowl forward.
Yeah, Adam, I think your observation is keen. However, it's specific to guys who haven't figured this out yet, because the girls are on top.
You're not focused on this.
Christy has a standing desk in the other room, and it's it's for blood flow, and she's looking at me right now. It's for posture. It's right here. It's right here is where it is.
Yes. All right. Well, the ladies have figured it out, but the fellas haven't yet.
Catch up.
All right. I will play you this clip that Dr. Drew, I met with Dr. Drew and did some shows earlier today, and he alerted me to something that was going on with him. And I will first, I think, play you this clip from Brett Weinstein, who is the former professor of biology at Evergreen State. He was the very liberal professor at the very liberal college who was featured in my documentary No Safe Spaces, who was surrounded by an angry mob of students and essentially running for his life because they had turned on their own, essentially. I mean, what
was his crime? It was something extreme.
His crime was it's interesting. They traditionally, because it was a very liberal college, had a day without a black student day.
Right.
And the Weinsteins of the world, they respected that. And if you're black, then don't show up on Tuesday the 23rd. And that went on for a while. But here's what I want to explain to everybody. The goal isn't day without a black student day, a day of absence, minority students and faculty would, stay home or whatever. That's not the goal. That's what they say the goal is. Once people comply to that goal, it's time to move on to the next goal. This isn't, it's like we do this.
Encompassing, yeah.
Yeah, we do it this thing. Like, here's what we want. Okay, give them what they want. Then you give them what they want, and they get bored really fast because they're not controlling you enough because you've complied. You want, that sounds good. Yeah. So everyone's...
PETA's the ultimate example. I mean, not the ultimate, but like the shining example of this.
I have such a good PETA story for news. You're going to love.
Yes, PETA's the ultimate example. Like, let's not test cosmetics on bunny rabbits. And everyone goes, okay, that makes sense. That sounds good. And then eventually they get into, killing cockroaches is like Hitler.
A cockroach wrangler on set.
Right. So because they're not interested in what they say they're interested in controlling you. So I know that sounds paranoid, but they've proven me time and time again to be correct. They just keep going. So then what they did is they evolved this into, instead of a day without minority students or faculty, everyone stays home. Now, this is where you separate the leftists from the liberals. The leftists go, that's a good idea, keep going. The liberals go, wait a minute.
Kind of flies in the face of the mission.
It does, and I'm liberal, and I should be able to show up to campus and teach, and then you should be able to decide whether you want to be in that day's class or not. That's the more liberal, but not the leftist. So this is a kind of good way to decide the difference between the leftists and the liberal. A lot of liberals get lumped in with leftists, but Weinstein is a liberal, but not down with the leftist orthodoxy. So he decided, I am a teacher, I get paid, and I shall, I'm a professor, I shall show up and teach that day. And he showed up and taught, and then an angry mob surrounded his class and then surrounded him and then threatened him. And the coward faculty and the dean and the whomever, they all sided with the mob. So they're now, I always tell you there's a handful of nut jobs, but most of the people are just cowards. They're just scared. It's not like the 60-year-old dean of the college agreed with the angry mob. He was scared of the mob. That was a physical mob. There's a digital mob that's out on the internet, but this was a physical mob. So he then says no police because he didn't want to agitate the mob. And and
there were people even waiting for him as he was biking home.
Right. The next thing you know, Weinstein is in danger. He's physically in danger. So that was the story. But here's what he had to say about that, and then I will dovetail that into Dr. Drew's recent dilemma.
it cannot help but be true that if this is allowed to continue, that it is going to work its way into the entire apparatus of government, journalism, maybe most seriously into the tech sector, which has become the governance apparatus for the new public square. YouTube and Google, Facebook and Twitter dictate whose voices can be heard. And if those entities start trying to engineer the conversation to adhere to the rules laid out with these phony Trojan horse terms, disaster will be the result. Public dialogue is passing through private servers where no protections exist. In other words, if you are not able to access the internet in the same way as someone else because the content of what you are saying has been deemed unacceptable, then that shapes the conversation that we are having with each other.
And that was his prediction 3, maybe even 4 years ago from a very liberal professor. And he's a evolutionary theorist. This is what he teaches. Anyway,
there you go.
Dr. Drew does a show on YouTube where he invites other doctors in and they talk about many subjects, but obviously COVID comes up. And they talk about therapeutics and remedies and statistics and what's safe and what isn't safe. And they look at all the data. And I think they do it in a pretty responsible and pretty sober way. But he got a notice from YouTube. Can you tell us what that is, Dawson?
Hi, Dr. Drew. Our team has reviewed your content, and unfortunately, we think it violates our medical misinformation policy. We've removed the following content from YouTube. And then it has the link to the video. We know that this might be disappointing, but it's important to us that YouTube is a safe place for all. If content breaks our rules, we remove it. If you think we've made a mistake, you can appeal and we'll take another look. Keep reading for more details. How your content violated the policy. YouTube does not allow content that spreads medical misinformation that contradicts the World Health Organization or local health authorities' medical information about COVID-19, including on methods to prevent, treat, or diagnose COVID-19 and means of transmission of COVID-19. Your channel now has one strike. You won't be able to do things like upload, post, or live stream for 1 week. A second strike will prevent you from publishing content for 2 weeks. 3 strikes in the same 90-day period will result in your channel being permanently removed from YouTube. What to do next? 95% of creators who get 1 strike never get another one. We want that for you too. So please, make sure you understand YouTube's community guidelines and strike basics. Review your content with our policies in mind. If after reviewing your content, you think we made a mistake, let us know. You can appeal this decision here. Hyperlink. Understand that this strike will expire after 90 days and that deleting the content will not remove the strike. Sincerely, the YouTube team.
Wow.
Yeah, all right. We're entering a new chapter, everybody. Everybody.
The question obviously is, what did Drew or someone's guest, I assume, say that violated? There's a lot of questions. Does YouTube have like a team of physicians like reviewing? I have to imagine the answer is no.
Well,
reviewing like what's said by medical people.
Yeah.
They say they go off of the WHO, but the WHO has been wrong about a lot of shit. Fauci's been wrong. Everyone's been wrong. So how do you know?
Yep.
Who's right and who's wrong?
And somebody must have flagged it. I don't think they're just randomly going through.
Yeah, they got some sort of submission or something.
Right, and they checked it against what the CDC said.
But
the World Health Organization.
Now Drew has to do what? Think about what he says before he says it. Maybe there's some guest that he wants to have share his opinion. Or by the way, maybe the physician wants to share his experience. Maybe this is his experience with his patients and his medications that he used. But he's going to have to think twice about bringing anyone on now. And what it does is it shuts down the conversation, because if Drew doesn't want a second strike, then talking about COVID is going to be kind of a no-fly zone, because we don't know where the bar is. You've crossed whatever line that they've randomly set up for themselves, their arbitrary line. We've seen it on Twitter. We've seen it all over social media. Nobody knows exactly where that line is, and no one knows where the line is because they don't tell you where the line is, because they can move it around depending on what you're saying and what they want to hear or what they don't want to hear or what side of the aisle you're on. So now the conversation is shut down because Drew is going to have to think twice about discussing COVID. The physician, the medical physician who got COVID, who experienced COVID, and who would like to share all the remedies and all the medications and all the procedures, he's going to have to talk about the Love Boat, which I'm happy about.
Yeah. Rub your alley.
Right.
Wait, okay, you guys obviously taped today. Did Drew say what he thinks was inviolable? Was it simply just a doctor saying, "Oh, I've tried this alternative therapy"? Because like holistic, therapy shouldn't be, I don't know, flagged. I have no idea. Did he say?
He has many physicians come on and talk about many protocols. So how would he know which one?
They didn't cite which one.
Well, also, these are the same assholes that were explaining how dangerous hydroxychloroquine was 10 minutes ago when it's not dangerous. But if you were talking about it as a remedy, then you would get pulled down. So if you as a physician understand that hydroxychloroquine is safe and you speak about it, well, then how would you know that that would set off a flag somewhere and have you pulled down?
Right.
This is not progress, people. I keep telling this thing. It's like we need this progressive movement. This is not progress. This is shutting down speech. It'll come to get you, whether it's the cancel culture or things, people deciding you're saying that they essentially disagree with. They will come for you one day. Would you like to keep cheering on these assholes? You may want to cheer on these assholes now because you agree with them politically or culturally or whatever. But don't worry, it will change, just like it changed for Brett Weinstein. He was a very liberal guy, and 10 minutes later, he's being surrounded by a fucking angry mob. That's how this works, people. You should be pushing back against it instead of cheering it on just because you may be on the side that's actually doing the stifling now. The stifling will go to the other side at some point, and you'll be on the wrong end of it, and you will get fucked up. This is America. We should be arguing for free speech. Did Drew say he's going to appeal? He should. I mean, YouTube's part of his livelihood, obviously. He has a popular show. I do not know if he plans on appealing. He was just kind of in crisis mode. Of course, his wife was, sending him crazy texts the entire time.
I know his team's looking into it.
Just say texts.
Yes, you're right. Just text. So,
just text.
All right, everybody, be careful what you hope for. Because here we go. And, the guys like Brett Weinstein who were making those kinds of statements 3 or 4 years ago, you may have thought were a little, maybe that was an overreaction or an exaggeration. Oh, no.
Here we are.
No, it wasn't. All right. The great Jeff Ross is up. Is he going to pop up? We're bringing him up. Jeff has an event coming up. And there's Jeff. Hey, Jeff.
Hi there.
I will give Jeff a plug. Live by Live, they're doing an original event, the Snubbys. That is Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, on livebylive.com/the Snubbys. And Jeff is hosting. Tell us about this, Jeff.
We're giving participation trophies to all the artists that got snubbed by the Grammys this year.
How nice.
And
it's like the safety school of award shows.
Did who on that list do you particularly feel got snubbed? I don't have the list in front of me, but Max Apana can probably look it up.
Well, one is like the one that's the most upset about it is The Weeknd.
Oh, right.
He had like the biggest song of the year, Blinding Lights, and he didn't get a nomination. And he even tweeted that it was corrupt and he was upset about it. And And you'd think with a name like The Weeknd, the guy would know how to enjoy himself.
Yeah, I know.
You can kick back.
Or
his name to Monday. I'll see you Monday at 9 a.m.
So The Weeknd felt snubbed. They have additional tributes. What's additional tributes, Max Pata?
It's people who weren't necessarily snubbed this year. These are like lifetime awards.
Oh, how nice.
Oh, okay. Alicia Keys, Blake Shelton, Jonas Brothers.
The Jonas Brothers actually got nominated for a Grammy this year for Best Pop Duo, which really shows that no one gives a heck about Kevin.
The third Jonas?
They left one of the Jonases just out of it. Which is like
replaceable.
ultimate snub. It's just terrible. And the thing that really pissed The Weeknd off, I think, is that Kanye West got nominated, and he literally tweeted out a video of him urinating on his Grammy.
Yeah.
What was he, baptizing it? He got nominated for Best Christian Album. So there really is a lot of politics about that goes on with this stuff.
Now, where do you do it? Do you do it virtually?
No, I'm going to Jam in the Van and shooting it tonight. We took this parking lot over in Santa Monica, COVID safe outside. It's going to be very punk rock. I'm just going to do it like a stand-up set and go through all the different snubs of the year, and there's some fun video, and it'll all air on Sunday at livebylive.com. It's something to do. You know, in a normal world, maybe we wouldn't care about who got snubbed, but I feel like this whole year was a big snub, so it felt like
That's
a
true.
good year to
Appropriate.
give a pat on the back and a kick in the pants to some of my favorite pop artists.
Are you going out, Jeff? Are you doing any dates?
You know, I keep thinking I will, and then I chicken out because I'm afraid of being inside and doing and having the crowd laughing in my direction. I know you've been braver. You've been much more brave than I am, or maybe irresponsible. It's hard to know.
It's such a fine line.
How do you feel up there? Are you paranoid? Are you going to get sick?
Nah, I never think about it. I have no thoughts. I don't have a lot of personal safety thoughts. I don't have personal space. I don't have personal thoughts. I don't have personal hygiene. I don't really have a lot of things that start with the word personal in front of them. I don't even like personal pizzas. They're too small, you know.
You like to share them.
Yeah.
Here's my theory, Adam. Comedy is going to come. I'm willing to wait it out because comedy is going to come back bigger than ever. I think music is going to come back bigger than ever. What I think is never coming back is close-up magic.
Oh, yeah. That's gone. Yeah.
I think no one's ever going to let anybody pull anything out of their ear again. I'm not picking any cards.
Yeah, you know, personal match made me think of mimes. And maybe mimes went away, so there's nothing to ever come back from. But it strikes me now that mime trapped in a box would be a very satisfying thing to bring the kids to, right?
The resurgence of mimes.
Feels very COVID safe. He's trapped in an invisible box.
You could do it with a mask. Nobody cares.
I want to circle back to personal pizzas. I now realize that was the worst idea anyone's ever come up with because pizza, first off, always order too much. There's going to be 3 slices left for breakfast. Number one, it's about the only takeout food that might even get better after sitting overnight in the refrigerator. Sure. Or you don't even have to put it away. I mean, you can get drunk and just leave it on the countertop, and as long as the lid's closed, it's good for the next morning. So the notion of the personal pizza is
What's the amount of days, Adam, that you'll let a slice of pizza, refrigerated slice of pizza, will you eat it 3 days later?
Yeah, thing, 3 to to 13. Like my feeling is I think I can reanimate almost anything with a paper plate, a couple of sprinkles of water from my hand. There's a little bit of a magic to it. You get your hand wet in the sink and you give it a couple of, like what the Pope does with this stick there. Give it a couple shots of water. Then you take a moist paper towel, put it over the top, and put it in the microwave for 33 seconds. I think I could bring Walt Disney back that way. I really do. I'm pretty sure I could reanimate Walt Disney if they let me. A
little bit of olive oil.
I can bring it all back.
You can start a whole service of rejuvenating dead people. Could you do something for Larry King?
I could probably bring back Larry, although we're not sure he was alive before he died. So I could lose on a technicality with Larry. I'm reading here you're good friends with John Mayer. Is that true, Jeff Ross?
I would say so, yes.
Is John Mayer a douchebag, or is he the funniest, coolest guy on the planet?
He's the coolest guy, and he's super funny, and he's very generous, and he's an all-around great guy. And he's like a nerd in a good-looking rock star's body.
Right.
I hate that.
Right.
How does this come up? Where are you hearing that he's a douchebag? I mean,
well, the jury was out for a while, like early on with him, because he was kind of in a few relationships, dumped a few hot chicks. There was some douchebag John Mayer discussions a little earlier in his career. I think he's probably graduated past that.
John Mayer's the guy who writes personal thank you notes. He's got that Jimmy Kimmel-esque thing that I learned from Larry Gelbart. John is the guy that if he hears a rumor that you're not feeling well, he won't just text you, he'll call you. He's a mensch.
I got the personal thank you note from Jimmy for Christmas. He's so much better than all of us. He has a stationery. He writes. He doesn't give you a short shrift. He writes something out. But is the personal thank you note on behalf of the kids, is that to teach the kids how to be, how to be civil? Is that a lesson for the kids, or is that a thank you note to you? Do you know what I'm saying?
It's just a waste of my time.
Thank you,
because
Sonny.
if his kids heard what he wrote in the thank you note to me, he'd be a bad dad.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I sent him I'll just tell it, hopefully he doesn't care, but I sent him a salami, a 2-foot long salami from Katz's Deli in New York, because I know he loves food, and I sent it to some friends that I thought would appreciate it. And he wrote me a thank you note saying, "Thanks for the salami. It fit inside Molly perfectly."
Molly's his Labrador.
Yeah.
Well, in other words, she consumed it.
Yes. Oh, right. Yeah. Double entendre.
What did you think? What were you guys thinking?
Yeah, you're right.
And I remember Larry Gelbart, the great writer, creator of MASH, playwright. He would always write personal thank you notes. And he lamented to me that tradition was kind of dying down with email. How many times will we say now, I got such a nice email,
Right.
At the end of the day, it's really just another email.
Well,
but when you get a nice thank you note, like, here, I got one here from Bruce Willis, like certain people will write really nice.
Really?
Things,
well, the other, and I want to know what Bruce Willis said.
Here's one from Don Rickles.
The Bruce Willis one says, "Thanks for the cheese wheel. I had a hell of a time ramming it up my wife's vagina."
That's right.
Bruce Willis. Don Rickles. You're right. So you're right. The thing about the email is thanks a lot. Say whatever you want. Can be wonderful. But then it just goes into the ether. When Jimmy sends the personal thank you cards, they live on the counter in the kitchen for long periods of time. Like they sit there and you'll come walking in a week later and sort of glance down and go, "Oh yeah, that was nice." Like it's a sort of a feel-good booster shot, because you don't throw them away. You don't read this beautiful sentiment on this beautiful card and then toss it in the trash. You don't put it into a yearbook or anything, or put it into a photo album. You just kind of set it where you can see it. And then, when you glance up, you feel good. What did the Bruce Willis one say?
It says, To Jeff, the godfather who led me through this rabbit hole and kept me happy and sane. God bless you. And anytime you need anything, just ask. Your pal, Bruce.
Really?
Because I produced his Comedy Central roast, and I really got connected to him through that. We spent a lot of time just talking. We're both Jersey guys, so we were exchanging stories and gifts the whole way through. And he kept calling me nervous about, who was going to be there and this and that. And he would also say, he'd be like, I stutter. Don't forget that I stutter. Make fun, roast me for stuttering. I go, why do you want me to go so hard on you? He goes, if you of all people go soft on me, I'm going to then get mocked by my friends for having a soft roast. So he really wanted it to break the skin a little bit. And he wrote me a nice thank you note. He's a mensch.
When is the next roast? Are you working on it, planning phases?
I'm hesitant to really dive in until we can really congregate. There's nothing worse than a roast where you can't hug the person afterwards. And I like a big crowd, and I like to be able to, really just touchy-feely it. So I've been holding back. Who do you think would be a good one?
God, I haven't given it any thought, and I'm scared if I mention someone, it's going to be somebody you've already roasted because you've done.
Well, the question,
so many.
The question, Adam, I've been getting the most is, would you roast Donald Trump again?
Oh yeah, you'd have to, right?
Yeah, of course. It'd be the biggest rated roast ever.
Yeah, well, I actually ran into him last year, and his entire national security team was there, and he says he stops his whole meeting, and he goes, Jeff, tell everybody how my roast was the highest rated roast in Comedy Central history. And I said, yes, Mr. President, the highest rated roast in history, except for Flavor Flav and Larry the Cable Guy.
That was a good roast.
We had a good laugh.
I think it'd be fun, speaking of Trump, do Trump, but then pick someone who's hard left, like pick an Anderson Cooper type and do that, like spread it around. I'd watch an Anderson Cooper roast. Plus, there's and it's always good. Here's the thing. So Anderson Cooper, basically, I think his mom watched his brother commit suicide, like by jumping out the window. I don't know if Anderson Cooper was there. Yeah, but she went, whatever happened to Eric Clapton's kid basically happened to Anderson Cooper's brother. And I actually think the mom was in the apartment when he was climbing over sort of the railing of the balcony saying, like, don't do it. And he did it anyway. The reason I bring that up is it's always good to have something heinous in the background of the person getting roasted, because then you have to worry every time, like Gilbert Godfrey goes up there, like, holy shit, is he going to get into this? You know what I mean?
Right.
I like to do like a misdirect. Like I like to make the person think I'm going to do the taboo thing, and then at the very last bit switch, just to see them get nervous for a second.
She saw him jump off the 14th floor. Gloria Vanderbilt, I think, is the mom. Mm-hmm. We're up against it, Jeff, so let me give you a plug. Live by Live original event, the Snubbys. That'll be 8 p.m. Eastern. That's Sunday, 5 Pacific on liveby.live.com/the Snubbys. And then also Thick Skin with Jeff Ross as well. That's available on Apple Podcasts and YouTube as well. Shoot him a tweet at Real Jeffrey Ross. Thanks, Jeff. Good luck.
Love you guys.
Love you, buddy. Man. All right, we're back. Vinnie Tortorich is in the waiting room. I have much to talk to him about. I got some very interesting statistics involving COVID and obesity, and I did some sleuthing, and we'll talk about Gina's fabulous onion rings. We'll do that right after this.
Adam Carolla's I'm Your Emotional Support Animal, navigating our all-woke, no-joke culture, has over 1,000 5-star reviews on Amazon. Here's one.
The last Adam Carolla, common sense, get through the amazing.
Yeah, Ozzy. Pick up I'm Your Emotional Support Animal, navigating our all-woke, no-joke culture, and leave your 5-star review on Amazon. Get all the links at adamcarolla.com.
The great Vinnie Tortorich back on the show. Fat, a Documentary 2 is available now on Amazon Prime Video and iTunes as well. If you haven't watched Fat or Fat, a Documentary 1 or 2, watch them both and watch them with family members so you guys can learn. My God. I don't know if you guys are like me. Good to see you, Vinnie.
Good to see you, Adam, and Gina and Brian.
How are you, buddy?
You know, it's so hard to undo what has been done in many people's heads when you start talking to them about the Vinnie diet and no, it's okay to have some whole cream in your coffee or no, have some cheese. No, don't get the non-fat yogurt. Get the high. And they're like, please, I'm trying to lose weight here. You know, you just can't undo it with people. It's so hard. I don't know. Is there, Vinnie, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there a story, a parable, something you could tell to someone who was resisting that, who was, buying the low fat and the skim everything and the snack wells, where you're trying to explain to them that you're much better off having a steak than you are having a bowl of pasta? Is there some words that we could choose that would penetrate their thin skulls, or thick, I should say?
The one I use most often nowadays, and everybody, I did it on this show before, everyone goes, oh my God, because it's something I can have someone Google on their phone while I'm telling them this, because that's what, when you say something that people don't believe anymore, they just Google it right away. If I'm having a political conversation with my stepdaughter, she will just start Googling in the middle of me making a statement to make herself right and go, look, no, I have this information. So what I do is I'll say, you don't have to look any further than 1968 Woodstock. Just go on Google, pull up any photo. I dare you, pull up any photo. Most people don't have shirts on, men or women. And the guys look like they've been doing sit-ups for weeks. Right? Like they never stop doing sit-ups. Yet these guys are swilling beer and wine out of one of those,
Boda bags.
Boda bags and the whole thing. They're drinking and they're high and they're drinking the whole thing. They look like they're athletes. And then go to current day, go to today and watch anyone crossing the finish line of a marathon after the 4.5-hour mark. You can take the bombing that happened at Boston at 4 hours and 15 minutes. Okay. These are people who are capable of running 27 miles. And look, they're fit, but they don't look as fit as the people. Those are two marks in history. The Boston Marathon bombing, 4 hours and 15 minutes. These are people who can run a marathon really well, right?
Sure.
But they don't have ripped up stomachs. A lot of these people have dad bods and mom bods and everything else, right? And you don't have to look any further than that to see that the one thing that happened between 1968 and today was the McGovern Committee, where we took 10 years to study food because people were hungry in America. And the Democrats at the time were trying to figure out, hey, how can we get more votes from poor people? Oh, great. Let's give them food. And how do we give them food? Well, we have to come up with a stamp, food stamps. Okay, McGovern, you go figure this out. And somehow in the middle of trying to figure out how to feed the hungry, we decided to figure out how to fix what wasn't broken, which is just a complete shame.
That's a very interesting visual. Yeah, you're right. Everyone hanging out at Woodstock looked completely fit. And those weren't a bunch of personal trainers. Those were commie, slacky hippies. Pinkos who are there. Yeah, you're right. It's not like they lived they weren't gym rats.
But Adam, I want to take it one step further.
Go ahead.
You've been talking about the Love Boat. I heard the show today with you and Chris Laxamana talking about the Love Boat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I used to choose my college classes in the 80s because it was already in rerun. And I knew I had to be at the football practice field by 1 o'clock. So I would figure out how to make love to my girlfriend and then watch Love Boat at 11 and then get to practice, right? Get all loose for practice. I love that show. So you mentioned it, and I went on and grabbed an episode. You cannot find anyone with any sort of weight problem. Look at all of the extras in the background.
No,
they are perfectly lean, and that was 1978.
Yeah, or maybe 79. Yeah, probably started in 78. I was watching, and Chris, you put this graphic on my screen, but I don't have Caucasian or white included in the breakdown. But we'll try to figure it out. Max Pat is on the phone, so I'm not sure. He's probably putting out a fire somewhere. But we don't have Caucasian or white in my COVID by death. But I was so we'll weave this into COVID and Vinnie and health. I was watching a CNN a couple days ago, and they ran this graphic about who's adversely affected by death by I think the graphic was death by 100,000, and Max Patty, you can work that out a little. But at the top, black. I think there were like 178 or something per 100,000. Then they had American Indian, Alaskan Native, Hispanic. They all would sort of trickle down to death by 100,000. At the bottom was Asian. And I started thinking about that, and I thought, I wonder what the graph is for obesity. Because I know we turn everything into something racial because everyone's a white supremacist, but is COVID-19, is it racist? Is it are these people being oppressed or held down, or they don't have access to whatever? I know that's what the government tells you. But as I started to look at the graphic, I was like, well, I think the Asians are probably the fittest of the community in terms of, I don't walk around and see a lot of big, heavy-set Asians. They're out there, but as it pertains, I live in Southern California. I see many more heavy-set Hispanics than I do heavy-set Asians. I think that'll be, everyone who's listening, that will be your experience. So it made sense to me that if this disease is preying on people that have obesity issues, that it would claim more Hispanics than Asians. And as I said, as I was looking at the graph, I thought, I wonder what the obesity graph is, and if I mirrored it to the COVID death by race per 100,000, if it would make sense. But it follows it along. The group, the ethnicity that has the most obesity also has the most deaths. And then you get down to the bottom and you get to Asian, and it's Black, American Indian, Alaskan Native is number 2, Hispanic, white is 4th, and Asian is 5th. So
it sounds like it goes along socioeconomic lines, and that might be racist for me to say that. Yes, I get it. They're rich Black people. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, but The Rock is African-American. So we're not talking about him. We're talking about just the average person. And we do know that there are more Black people per capita. I mean, that's a fact. I'm not making that up. And in those groups, they're having, more, they're eating worse food. They're not eating as good as anyone else.
Right. But so this is the time when we could stop talking about everything being racist and start educating people who are in those groups to improve their diet, if in fact you care about Black people. Now, I don't think they care about Black people, because if they did, they would be focusing. If you were a parent and that was your child, you would have a very different approach, but you wouldn't just tell them, have another slice of bundt cake because society's racist. You would then intervene. So we won't do that as a society. We will happily just say everyone's a racist, but we won't actually have any real information. This whole COVID year has been such a potential learning opportunity that has been utterly squandered because we're not talking about, we don't talk about all the discussions I've heard Fauci talk about. It's all been masking and distancing. I haven't heard any supplement talk. I haven't heard any vitamin D talk. I haven't heard any diet talk. This should be our excuse to have a national dialogue.
Yes.
This thing I was saying, it's like, we have to have an honest dialogue about race. We do nothing but talk about race. How about we have an honest dialogue about obesity?
Well, and it's not, we can take it farther than that. What has the government been telling us to do? Stay home, sit on the couch and wait.
That's
and
right.
keep those small restaurants in business.
Right.
So get your takeout and go home. So it's been doing the opposite.
The information and the dispensing thereof could have been our greatest weapon against COVID. Instead,
nothing. Right. Because we don't judge. See, we have a bizarre society. We don't judge except for when we're calling everyone a racist. And then we do a little bit of judging. But when we're done calling everyone a racist, then no more judging. No more judging about obesity.
I'll tell you how bad it's gotten with, you can't fat shame. A couple of things. I have a Facebook group that was created after my book became a thing called Vinnie Tortorich's No Sugars, No Grains group. And it's got around 30,000 people in it. Gina could probably tell you a little bit about it. I'm not sure if she's in it or not, but they've lost hundreds of thousands of pounds now. People losing 200 and 300 pounds. I celebrate one person every week on my Instagram that's lost a gazillion pounds, and you can't even tell the person from the beginning till the end. But Facebook, even though that this is a private group, meaning you have to be invited in, Facebook took it upon themselves to start dinging my group and telling me they're going to make it go away because there's hate speech in the group. And they tell you what the hate speech is. Last week, the hate speech was, and I wish I was making this up, bacon fat, because the word fat was next to the word bacon.
Oh, as though they had called someone fat?
But that's a
flag. No, it just said, someone said, hey, I use bacon fat in order to make my eggs. That's the
I know. It came up on their filters as though someone was like abusing someone saying you're
yeah, who knows? Maybe they thought we were talking about the cops or something. Pigs. It seems like they want those guys to go away too. The bottom line is when Facebook is going to start censoring a guy like me who's helping people,
and
we're
who doesn't
done.
believe in fat shaming and who doesn't do
Right. Right. There's no fat shaming where I'm concerned. I've always said there's not a fat person alive who wakes up in the morning and says, you know what? I love the way this feels. Every fat person I've ever worked with, they want to do everything they can not to be that way anymore. Yet we're being shut down. I get shadow banned on Twitter. I get shadow banned on Instagram and everywhere else. They deplatformed me. They took my Wikipedia away, saying that they couldn't prove one thing about me. They couldn't prove that I did 2 movies. They couldn't prove that I had a book. They couldn't prove that I used to do a radio show. And they couldn't prove I was fucking a Bond girl, even though on her Wikipedia, it says that we were together. They can't seem to prove anything. And they said, we can't prove anything about this guy. He goes away. Well, is that fair that they could do that to someone like me? And by the way, we get hundreds of thousands of people watching the movie. We've sold hundreds of thousands of my book. You can't tell me that my Twitter should have only 33,000 people in it. That makes no sense.
Well,
right? But they platform people like me to get their message to move forward.
They've declared war on the Dr. Drews and the Vinnie Tortoriches, and it may have something to do with your guys' perceived politics. I do not know, but it's not a move toward the light, people. We need more than ever the Drews and the Vinnies out there versus what? Like, how much misinformation have we gotten from so-called reliable sources over this entire COVID episode? I mean, we've heard different things from everyone, and I don't I don't blame them. The information comes in the way the information comes in, and they make their decisions. You have to be wrong if you're going to have an opinion on a daily basis about something that is so fluid.
Right. Don't marry yourself to something that may get proven different or wrong or some version.
Well, who really, look, if somebody says the Dodgers won the 1977 World Series, and a bunch of Yankees fans go online and say the Yankees won, well, that's provable. I mean, we know who won, who didn't win. Yeah, the stuff they've been talking about, zinc, hydroxychloroquine, or whatever other remdesivir, whatever remedies have been. Nobody really knows definitively one way or the other whether it's curing somebody, helping someone or not. That's the process. Doctors go through this. You want them going through this process. You want them trying things and experimenting with things, not dangerous things, but attempting to
ethically, they'll end up at the right formula,
right?
Whatever.
So let's not deplatform people that are. First thing, let's not deplatform people that are trying to do things for other human beings. Trying to educate them, trying to give them information, trying to help them with their diet and thus their immune system. All right. I wanted to talk about Gina's air onion rings because her air fryer onion rings. Because I had onion rings that were not air fried last weekend. I'm ashamed to say in front of Vinnie, but I want to know if these air fried onion rings can hold up to what I would call a standard onion ring. And I fucking love onion rings. And I'm not a ranch guy, but there's nothing better than the dip of the onion ring in the ranch. And I know Gina made some homespun ranch as well. So I want to know how you did that. And on a personal note, I love artichokes. I love artichoke hearts. I love the jar of roasted artichokes that are floating in the oil. Hard to find them that aren't in the sunflower oil or the canola oil, but look around because I think I went to the Whole Foods the other day and I found some in olive oil with just water. Right. You can find them, and they are. And Vinny, you tell me if artichoke hearts are good or bad, but they are goddamn satiating. You open that jar and take a couple of those morsels and chomp them down, just all in that oil and everything, and you're immediately not hungry. Yes, artichoke hearts.
I take the big, I take the salt, the big clumpy salt, the large grain, and I'll just take that artichoke heart and just dip it right in the salt and put it in my mouth. It's delicious, and it's good for you. There's nothing wrong with it, number one. Number two, I'm going to be in California around the second week of March. Adam, whether I'm invited or not, I'm coming to the studio and I'm inviting Gina to come along and make some of these onion rings.
Easily.
Please. Because we need to taste these in the studio.
I agree.
She sent me a damn photo. That photo, she sent it to me last night at 10 o'clock. And I turned to Serena and I said, Serena, tomorrow, just go out and buy an air fryer. I don't know what it is. Just go get it. Go get it now.
First of all, these were completely inspired by Vinny because at one point you told me the food you miss the most in the world is onion rings. And I haven't been able to get that challenge out of my head. So I just happen to have an onion and all the stuff I just have around the house. And I thought, maybe tonight's the night. And I will tell you, as I was making these, I kept warning the 5-year-old because, they're the first ones to tell you that everything tastes like shit. And I said, now remember, these are not going to taste like restaurant onion rings. And I said that 1,000 times from when I was cooking to when he was about to put it in his mouth. And this kid polished off an entire platter. And he goes, they're good. They're like restaurant ones. So I was preparing him for, not to have like the delectable, greasy bar food, but he could tell no difference. So this is just what I do for everything when it comes to, fried eggplant slices, zucchini slices, fried pickles. I just did the same thing with onion rings. I just cut them in about 1/4 slices and, popped out all the rings. And then I have my 3 bowls. My first bowl I actually had coconut flour on hand, but you could do almond or garbanzo. Those are a little carby, but you're just hardly dusting it. You're just trying to get the water out of the onion. So you're hardly touching it. So the first bowl, I use the coconut flour. Second bowl is a beaten egg. And the third bowl is the pork panko with a little grated Parmesan mixed up in it, and a little salt, pepper, garlic powder, and a little paprika. Just mixed it all together. You drudge, and you place it on a tray. Drudge, place it on a tray. And I just did it with all of them. I popped them in the air fryer in batches. I think I did 370 degrees for 6 minutes and popped them out, did the next batch. 370 for 6 minutes, did the next batch. And we had bunless burgers, and I always make homemade ranch because I think store-bought ranch tastes like glue. Yeah. So I just mixed them up real quick, and we had a great bar food dinner last night. And everything is up on Grain-Free Comfort Food on Instagram. And I can't wait to do it again.
What was the pork panko? What was the third one?
Pork panko. Somebody sent them to the company. Pork panko sent them to me. It's amazing. A lot of people will say take pork rinds or chicharrones or whatever and smash them up. I personally did not grow up with that, and I think they have a weird smell. I'm it's not for me. But this company that they didn't pay, they just sent it to me one time and I keep buying it. It's called pork panko. And it's just like really light, fluffy pork skin. And
can someone throw it up? Does someone have the ingredients in pork panko? I just thought you
it's
took
just pork skin, I think.
It's just pork skins all chopped up.
But it doesn't have that weird smell that if you're not used to it, it doesn't work.
So where did it come to? And I want to know your homemade ranch. I want to know how that works. So where did the onion ring land for you, Gina?
I know from an onion ring. So I took my first bite and I was like, this is good for a keto air fried onion ring. This is good for when you know what it is, because it doesn't have that, as the Jews say, that geschmacked, greasy taste that, you know, your brain just lights up for. But it has a great crunch. It's very oniony. It's everything you want without that greasy thing that you're kind of still longing for. But the 5-year-old, who I'm telling you is a judgmental mofo, couldn't tell the difference and begged me to do them again tonight. They're a little bit of a pain in the ass because you have to dredge and you have to do it in batches. But other than that, it's not hard to do. It's just time consuming.
Pork
and the ranch. Yeah.
Pork panko is pork skin and salt. That's all.
Yeah.
So how do you do ranch?
That's just, I just eyeball it now. I have that recipe on my grain-free comfort food too, but I just take either plain yogurt, plain full-fat yogurt, because of Vinny, that Andy consumes it like it's like we have stock in it. So I either take that or sour cream and thin it out with whatever, milk, water, just a little, whatever. And then tons of dill. I go through dried dill like crazy. Tons of dill, and then garlic powder, onion powder, salt, pepper, and squeeze a little lemon juice. Mix it up. Great ranch.
Vinny, I wanted to talk to you about the gelatin stuff because the collagen. We've kind of talked about that before. I see all those Jennifer Aniston commercials now where she's
peptides.
She's behind something. Yeah, Brian's got some. What do you got, Brian?
I got the Vinny shake. As you know, my problem is putting on the weight, and now that I've finished the meds, I put on 17 pounds so far, so head in the right direction.
Wow. Thanks
to Vinny. Vinny gave me a heads up on some good shake ingredients. So most days a week, I do the ice, water, heavy cream, few drops of stevia extract for taste, because it's all unflavored. The collagen peptides, peanut butter, throw the all natural, peanut butter, and blend it up and good to go.
Vinny, you should know he normally drinks a cookie dough Ensure. But just today, coincidentally, he happens to have the Vinny shake. Wow, isn't that convenient?
Okay, we'll have the Vinny shake. Here's the thing. Collagen peptides came out of nowhere a few years ago. Guys like myself who grew up in the bodybuilding world in the 1970s, we used the good old-fashioned Knox gelatin. I have some right here. There's packets of them. You can just buy the packets. It's just, and you could buy here. I have this here too. You could buy just a big jug of it, right?
Knox gelatin.
Just Knox gelatin. And here's the difference between Knox gelatin and collagen peptides. They take basically Knox gelatin and they hydrolyze it. So the form Brian has, you see, when I mix mine up, I just mix it up in the morning. I drink it down really fast and no problem, right? But if you don't do that, it'll congeal. It's a little clumpy and that kind of thing. With Brian's version, since they hydrolyze it, doesn't hurt the product. It mixes better, and you pay a lot of money for that. So, folks, if you want the workaround, just go get the Knox gelatin. It's way cheaper, and it goes. And here's another thing you could do with the Knox gelatin that I'm not sure you could do with the collagen peptides. I also, besides drinking it, because I have so much arthritis, I have osteoarthritis throughout my whole body now, and I still like to be athletic. I also keep a bowl of it in the fridge. So I'll make a really thick version of it, the same way you would make Jell-O. Just put it in and just mix it up, and you can flavor it without putting sugar in it. I'll either put some vanilla to give it more of a vanilla essence, or the other thing I like to put is a ginger, just plain ginger powder. Just put just a little teaspoon in there and mix up the rest of it. And in between workouts or, doing whatever, if I'm going to have some yogurt, I'll also put, some gelatin in there, just the one that's in the fridge, and it tastes like a treat.
And it's much cheaper. What's the stuff Jennifer Aniston is on to? I just see these commercials.
Yeah, it's what Brian.
Oh, that's what I have. Is vital proteins.
That's the popular one.
I mean, Christy bought it, but that's the one I have.
So,
some in the kitchen.
When you buy that, number one, they have to hydrolyze it. Number two, they have to pay Jennifer Aniston. Yeah. So you're paying a premium for that stuff.
So get the Knox. Get the Knox gelatin.
Yeah. I've been using it since the 70s. Ladies, if you're into your nails and your hair, they will swear that your nails and hair will get better. I barely have any hair. I don't notice it. But it really does help. It's a protein. It's good for your body. It's good for every joint in your body, your soft tissue, your muscles, just everything all the way around.
And how much should one put into like the glass of water in the morning?
One packet, here, let me open this one up.
Oh, is it really? That seems like a lot. They come in individual packets.
Yeah, it's in a little individual.
Oh, okay.
It looks like a tea bag packet.
Yeah, okay.
With this, you have to kind of guess, but you'll figure out on day one if you put too much. It'll be like stirring cement. So you'll figure that out pretty quickly.
All right, let me give you some plugs. We got Cousin Sal waiting in the waiting room. Documentary is called Fat, a Documentary 2, available now on Amazon Prime Video and iTunes. VinnieTortorich.com is where you can go before the man shuts him down. NSNGFoods.com, and let's not forget about Pure Vitamin Club and Pure Coffee Club as well. We always partake in that. Every single morning is part of my ritual, and God bless Vinnie Tortorich. All right, let me hit Geico, and then we'll talk to Cousin Sal. Do you rent your home? Well, you do one or the other. Now, Geico makes it easy to bundle. Just go to geico.com, save a bunch of time, save a bunch of money, take your homeowners, your renters insurance, and combine it with your automotive policy and save a bunch of dough. You get a quote, find out just how much you could save because Geico makes it easy. Visit geico.com today and get to bundling at geico.com. All right, we'll take a quick break, come back with Cousin Sal right after this.
In the spirit of Murrow, Jennings, Cronkite, here's another great moment in local news.
What started off as a joke on Facebook quickly became a reality. Locals mourning the loss of their beloved Taco Bell.
We're just out here giving remembrance. I think it was the best Taco Bell in Montgomery.
Grieving in not so average way.
That's a great moment in local news. Now, back to the Adam Carolla Show.
Cousin Sal has joined us. A new book, You Can't Lose Them All. Tales of a Degenerate Gambler and His Ridiculous Friends, available now on Amazon. I'm here to attest, Sal has some of the most ridiculous friends on the planet. Good to see you, Cousin Sal.
Nice to see you, buddy. I feel bad because I bogged you down with, I think, at least half of those ridiculous friends on a given Sunday or every Sunday. I don't know.
Well, it's unclear whether these are actual friends of Sal's or just people he wants to unleash on other legitimate friends. We just got... Who'd I just see in Florida? Who's I hanging out with over there?
Oh, Mario.
Right? Mario's one of Sal's friends. How do you describe Mario?
It's very tough because Mario will put in his own act that he is. I have put it up to people. I'm like, okay, here's Mario. I put him right in front of friends, and I'm like, you have to guess. Here are your parameters: man, woman, ages 20 through 85, and I've gotten every single answer on the spectrum.
Yeah, we can probably find a picture of Mario, but I was in Florida, and the next thing you know, I was just informed on the way to the club that Mario will be opening for me that night. I said, they always say like half of life is showing up, and it's so true. Once you put on a bow tie and show up to the club, who's going to be the one who's going into the green room and telling him he's not going out on stage? It's not going to be Mike August.
There you go.
There's-
Wow, Mario's gone full manic or full ventriloquist there, huh?
Yes.
Oh my.
Yes.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I was intrigued as well, but not intrigued enough to ask questions.
I love it.
When I
You
first
seem to be getting along swimmingly. Look at that.
the first time I saw cousin Sal, Jimmy and I flew out to New York. Sal picked us up. He's in Long Island. I slept over at Sal's house, and I was awoken by. Well, first I was awoken by his mom, but I think on a subsequent trip I was woken by your friend Cow tickling my feet.
Yeah.
What would Cow do with the tickle?
Cal got in trouble. Cal is an obese now man, but at the time he was probably in his early 20s or maybe not even 20. And I met him through my friend Harry in college. And Cal would go fishing all year, and he smelled like fish all year. His hands, he was dirty, and he would tickle your feet, your face. He got suspended a lot from high school for tickling girls' faces. And this was before the sexual harassment was a big thing. This was just straight on harassment. So he carried that to my house when I said, oh, I got to have this guy for a weekend. And he came down, and you bore witness to it. Yeah, I think the moral is to never fall asleep at my house, right? Whether it's my mother or Cal or whoever waking you up.
Is this the August watch situation?
No, this is the August watch. That's Sal, but we should discuss that. The first night I slept at Sal's house. I was awoken by his mother diving on me because she thought I was Jimmy. So I slept on the bed next to the washer and dryer where they kept all the dirty clothes. They just sort of put them on top of the bed, like the world's worst cocktail party, right? And I just buried myself underneath all the clothes on the bed, and the next morning, Sal's mom dove on me because she thought it was her beloved Jimmy. So that was the first one, and then I moved into Sal's room at some point, maybe the next night, and that was that morning. Cow woke me up. He's a large man. He's a thick man, and he woke me up by going Gucci 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 goo on my feet. And I just woke up. I have no idea who this giant human being is who's tickling my feet.
He accused you of having a sleeping disorder because it was 8:45, which was 5:45 your time, and you hadn't said hello to the day yet. Yeah.
Plus, I remember we sat around your kitchen table till like 3 a.m. telling stories that night. Yeah, the watch story is great too. Who is chronicled in this book? Cow must be in the book.
You got them
Mario.
all. My friend Harry, our friend Brad, who
Brad.
It's all ties to Brad. With everything else going on, he avoided paying his bookie $1,400 by joining the Navy and spent over 1,000 days on an aircraft carrier in the Middle East. So that was a really good trade-off. But everybody is in there. It's a disaster.
So tell everyone the watch story, because the Mike August watch story is the best. Because
I don't know what is the watch story.
Yokozuna.
Oh, right.
But I think this. Here's why the story is good, because each party, Cousin Sal and Mike August, were very on brand. They were both who you know them to be in this story. So. Your best recollections, Cousin Sal.
My bet, correct me if I'm wrong, but we would watch football in my condo on Sundays. I don't even think I had a classic car in there at the time. Now that I think back, no, it was just the living room in the condo. We had
this was at Jimmy's house.
Oh, was it Jimmy's? Okay.
Yeah, we're in the living room at Jimmy's house. We used to watch it down in your sort of quarters down there at Jimmy's house. But sorry, go ahead.
So August falls asleep, which was a terrible thing to do back then. Jimmy was smart, but let me get to August falls asleep. And when people would fall asleep, I would often pull down my pants, take a running start, and jump on their face and yell Yokozuna in tribute to the deceased and also obese sumo wrestler who made his way in WWE. And so August falls asleep. Jimmy was smart about it. You might have done this too. When Jimmy would try to doze off, he would put a toothpick in his mouth and try to look towards the ceiling. thinking, all right, I'm going to get it jabbed in the ass, or worse yet, Sal's not going to want to kill me and make me swallow this thing. So it worked. It was a good deterrent. But August had nothing, no toothpick, no anything. And so I Yokozuna him. And as I jump, this is where it gets weird. He puts his arm up to block it, and his watch connects with his mouth, and he chips a tooth, right?
Right. Mike wears his stainless steel Rolex. Sal yelled Yokozuna, 0.3 of a second before impact, but that was enough time. And also, Mike knew what he was doing when he went to Jimmy's house to watch football. Everyone knows there's a potential for Yokozuna. I mean, and if you doze off, it's kind of on you, right? So when he heard Yokozuna, most people who were asleep, if they heard Yokozuna, wouldn't try to block their face. They'd probably just wake up. But he knew immediately, and he raised his hand, but it was his watch hand, and Sal's ass drove his wrist into his face with the Rolex chipping his tooth. And Mike August, not pissed in the least.
I know. That is great thing about Mike. He got him bonded, and I never heard a bleep about it. It was nothing.
You didn't get an invoice, a bill.
No.
Insurance claim submitted.
Yeah.
Didn't he have a friend? He must have had a friend that was a dentist, Adam. I think there was a friend involved there that did it for, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I got off the hook there.
I think he just drove through Pacoima and saw one of those billboards that said, "We'll bond any tooth for $14.99," and just pulled right into that dentist's office.
Dentista.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Sal, we should talk Super Bowl, because I know everyone wants to know where my money's going, so we can figure out how to bet the opposite of where my money's going.
Right.
We're talking to Sheck a couple days back, and I think the line was about 3. I Chiefs being the favorite, I felt like it was going to move at the time and go up to maybe 5 or 4.5 or something.
It probably should be that, right? I think first of all, the odds makers are horrified. They're terrified because Sunday, an hour leading up to the Packers game, Tampa Bay was getting 3.5, and like a dozen $500,000 bets came in on Tom Brady. And so nobody wants to expose themselves to that again. And they also don't want to move it to 2.5, because then all the money will ride in on the Chiefs. So they're leaving it at 3. I think they're also worried some Reddit idiots will ruin this, and all of a sudden the Chiefs will be getting 25.5 points or something. So they're leaving it at 3. I think you're right. In a perfect world, the Chiefs are a 4.5, 5-point favorite. Have you tried to think back as to what your record is in Super Bowls that Tom Brady has quarterbacked in? I feel like I'm 2-7 or maybe 3-6. Like I can't really get it right with him. Do you feel like you have better success?
No, I feel like he was here to make me miserable in the sense, and one could hedge their bets by just betting on Tom Brady, and then if you lose, well, good, Tom Brady didn't win. But it feels the Chiefs' offense looked basically unstoppable. And the Bucks played well. Brady threw 3 picks. Maybe 2 of them were like punts. But when they get pressure on Brady, he has a hard time. He's older. He's not that mobile. He doesn't really like the pressure. I feel like if the Chiefs got pressure on Brady could have a bad day. And the Chiefs seem like they just have so many weapons. And, of course, their quarterback, they just seem sort of unstoppable. Like, I feel like the Chiefs are going to put up 34 points, and, it could be a 28-17 type game. Like, I don't think it's going to be down to a field goal.
Yeah, I'll say this. It's a weird thing, right, Adam? Because for years, the Patriots were the fun team to bet, right? And you would be like, well, if I bet the Patriots and they lost, at least you could go to bed thinking I had the better team. But now the Chiefs play like Harlem Globetrotters style offense, right? With the bowling ball passes to Kelsey from the 2-yard lines. And, Mahomes is like a 3-sport athlete playing football, right? His old man was a shortstop. We see some of that in his delivery. He's kind of like a point guard when he's running with the ball and pointing ahead and everything. And obviously one of the best arms in the game. And I think if they play 10 times, the Chiefs win this, but I'm scared of Brady. I really am. I'm shell shocked since you and I had Atlanta when they were down 28-3. When Atlanta was up 28-3, we had 3.5 points in Atlanta. So even with the ridiculous comeback that the Patriots made, okay, well, they'll kick a field goal in the overtime and win. No, they scored a touchdown. Like they really, and I don't know if it's them or Tom Brady, but they really yank your heart out through your throat every year. And I might bank on them being down 9 points and Brady leading the charge and getting a touchdown and doing something stupid, them covering but losing or something. I don't know.
Brian?
Two-part question for you, Sal. I know you love the Super Bowl props like I do. Do you have a prop that jumps out at you this year, or maybe even a couple as your favorite? And just part two of that same question, do you have one prop that you sort of hammer every year as like, oh, that's a great, you're looking for a, I don't know, field goal prop or whatever?
Yeah, well, the one prop I hammer every year, and I think it's won like 6 out of 9 years or something, but the shortest touchdown to be under 1.5 yards. And in this day and age, there's so much stuff. There's so many 1-yard touchdowns. Yep. There's so many pass interferences in the end zone. They immediately put the ball at the 1. So it's not that much fun because it pays even odds. I like Kelsey. This is a guy who gets he's expected to get 7 receptions a game. I think he had 13 last game. Him to score the first touchdown is 7-1. I like spraying it, right? This is the last game of the year. I don't like, you have one roulette roll. Do you put it all on black or red, or do you spread everything out?
Spread it around.
I like it all going all over the place. So the better props aren't out yet, but those are a couple that I like.
The shovel pass to Kelsey when he goes in motion.
Yeah,
it's unstoppable. And Tyreek Hill when he goes in motion, and the Chiefs just seem sort of unstoppable. Well, they seem like they have so many weapons, and then if they didn't utilize those weapons, they could be stoppable, but they utilize the hell. And when Mahomes rolls out and starts directing traffic and can run and move the chains, or just dump the ball off to Tyreek on a drag, it just feels like how can you stop them from converting? How can you stop them from moving the chains?
Yeah, you can't. You really just can't. I don't know if some guy hits him helmet to helmet and gets a triangle chokehold in there somehow like that. That's the only stupid way it'll stop if he gets injured. I do like that. The people have no problem with Mahomes running it, and he could run it too for like a 4-yard touchdown. And then the next drive they get a helmet to helmet on the guy and he's out with a concussion or whatever. And like, whoa, why are they even running Mahomes? Like, all right, because everything works, because everything they do works, and that's part of everything. So.
I always have this thing, and I think I had it with the Panthers. God, what was his name? Cam Newton. I always have this theory that if you have a guy like Cam Newton or a guy like Mahomes or a guy who's really mobile, I mean, what Cam was back in the day. Remember 10 minutes ago, Dave Damashek was saying that Cam Newton was going to be a Hall of Famer? Do you remember that discussion?
He's still on that, oh yeah.
Is he still on that?
Oh yeah,
he's crazy with that.
That's insane.
He's so nuts with that.
All right, but my feeling is like every single third, it's the last game of the season, so there is no next week to prepare for. So if it's 3rd and 3, run him out of the shotgun, and if there's any kind of opening, just dive forward, just move the chains, like convert every offense. But they never seem to do that. Cam Newton didn't do that. That was against the Patriots, right?
He lost against the Broncos.
Oh, the Broncos. He did. Yeah, he didn't do that. And you kind of wonder if Mahomes is going to do that.
I feel that way about Russell Wilson. Some of these guys, I don't know if they have a deal with the coach, but there are no design runs anymore for quarterbacks, unless it's like Mahomes. There's so many rushing quarterbacks that you can rely on. Just that keep that tuck the ball away and go around the end kind of thing. Bootleg seems to always work, but a lot of players are reluctant to do it anymore.
With all the sort of, and then when they put Tyreek Hill in motion, and he just goes in motion and turns around and goes back the other way, it just seems uncoverable. And
so much faster than everyone too. Yeah, I don't think there's a better tight end wide receiver combo in history. If you're going to rank them 1 through 10, I think Kelsey's a 9 or a 10 as far as best ever, and Hill is a 7, right? A 7 or 8. And you look back in history, there's not too many that get more than a score of 18.
Yeah. What? I know you're a big Cowboys fan. Dak Prescott. Is he going to be able to come back from that horrific injury?
I think so. Everything they say physically, he's, progressing at a rate that they're happy with and everything. That just stinks because they could have been 7-9 and won that division with him if he were healthy. And then, look at the Washington team. They only lost by 8, one score to Tampa Bay. And, I don't know about this new coach. There's so much weirdness going on. For a minute, when Aaron Rodgers was crying about maybe going to another team, I'm like, oh, reunite him with Mike McCarthy, the Cowboys coach. And then I'm like, what am I talking about? That ain't happening. But yeah, I think Prescott stays.
Give us a story from the book, Sal. By the way, You Can't Lose Them All is the name of the book, available now on Amazon. Yes.
I've been telling a lot of gambling stories, but I'll tell the one that made me, the one day I felt most like you, Adam, was last year. My son Archie is in a wrestling tournament, and I go to see him. And I don't know if you've ever been to a wrestling tournament. There's like 6 mats going at once and just whistles every 4 seconds, and which got in the way of me tracking my bet of the Big 12 championship. I had the over. So I'm streaming that on my phone, and there's a whistle on the phone, and there's 6 whistles around me. So it was I became a head case after a while. Anyway, Archie loses early, parents' dream, because then we get to leave early, right? Now I'm not cutting into a percentage of my my weekend. So we leave. I meet the wife and the kids at Joe's Pizza. It's in Santa Monica. Like, we might as well get good pizza. It was around the corner. We get there. There's a pie out, a cheese pie, and a pepperoni pie. And I'm sitting there. I'm like licking my wounds from losing the bet. I have some cheese pie. Everyone's in on the pepperoni, even though it's my favorite. And there's 1 slice left. And I go to take it, and then a homeless guy walks in. He's like, hey, can you spare a slice of pizza? And Archie grabs the pepperoni and hands it to the homeless guy. And I'm like, wait. And I grab out of instinct, I grab his hand. I'm like, wait, there's plenty of cheese pizza left. Give him the cheese. And now the whole family turns on me. And somehow the neighboring tables around us are like, oh, just give him what the kid wants to give him. I'm like, well, what? Is there ever a better example of beggars can't be choosers? I'm like, give him the cheese. Why does he need the pepperoni? And now the clerk has got his arms folded and he's shaking his head. Of course, we end up giving him the pepperoni, and then I have to go and get another slice for $3.50 of pepperoni. I have to go buy it. But am I wrong? Is that a Curb Your Enthusiasm? I feel like you could be easily in that situation.
Oh my God. I've had, yes, I'm right with you. Something jumped to mind involving Danny Two Sheets, which was Danny Two Sheets, Danny Kelson and his wife, probably 10 minutes after I was fired from my radio job and feeling a little insecure about my future financially, invites me and Lynette to go to Mr. Chow's in Beverly Hills. That's the most expensive place in California. And we go to Mr. Chow's in Beverly Hills. And, of course, if you go out with Daniel, he's got his Kettle One, dry, shaken, not stirred. He's ordering multiple cocktails and and he's doing a lot of this. Like the Peking duck, can that be an appetizer? Well, we have to kill the duck. Well, but once you pluck the duck, could we make an entree? Let's get that as an appetizer then. Like that market price entrees, he's ordering his appetizer. All I hear is a cash register, cha-ching, 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 running it up. That's all I hear. And at the end, when the check for, $1,600 or $2,200 or whatever arrives, I'm fresh off of being shit canned from my radio job and not knowing what my future is. When the check arrives, I go, oh, we'll split it. And Lynette grabs the check and goes, nonsense, we're paying. And I go, well, but hold on. Daniel invited us out to dinner, right? No, we won't hear of it. We will not hear. I go, I'll listen. I'm all ears. I'll hear it. I'll put a horn in my ear. I'm all ears. Go ahead. And I'm like, I'm not saying for Daniel to pay for it. I'm saying, why don't we just split it? We just split it. He asked us out to No, come on, don't be cheap. I go, but that's not his protocol. He asked us to dinner. He asked us out. No, we're going to handle this. So, yes.
And Daniel, of course, is loving this, even if he thinks it's the right thing to do. He's just loving that you're antsy about this. Oh, I feel bad.
Right. That was pure. Didn't we have, wait a minute, when we were all eating in Maui, didn't we have one of those things where we all went out, Sal, his family, my family, Daniel's family, we all went out to like the Tiki Lounge or something to have dinner, and we had like the 45-year-old waiter dude, and I was paying, and Daniel wanted to tip him. You know, we got some crazy bill for $1,500 or something. Daniel wanted to tip him like 30%. And I was like, he'll make $250 for an hour and a half's work. You remember that argument?
Yeah, that was great. And most of it was on booze anyway, right? So it wasn't
right.
Like, what's the difference anyway? Yeah, that was a lot.
Sal will have like Shirley Temple, and the kids will have a Diet Fresca, and then Daniel orders 17 margaritas, and then it's time to whack it up. I do love that guy. All right, let me give him a plug. You can't lose them all. Tales of a Degenerate Gambler and His Ridiculous Friends. I'm telling you, read this book, people. It's available now on Amazon. And I'll tell you that all those stories are true, and I haven't even read it. Extra Points with Sheck, Dave Damashek, the podcast, Against All Odds as well, Laugh Lines as well, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well. And check out Lock It In, Sal's very successful show on Fox Sports 1. Go to foxsports.com. Check out the vids. Cousin Sal, good to see you, my friend.
Great seeing you, buddy. I miss you guys, and enjoy the Super Bowl.
We shall, and we'll talk soon. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come right back with the news right after this.
Give me the news with Grad, news with Gina Grad, breaking, viral, weird crime, protest, politics. Give me news with Gina Grad, stuff they saw on TMZ, Joe Biden, Kamala. Beat news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
Well, if you thought your COVID swab was bad, stick around. Don't go to China anytime soon. No. China instituted a new mandatory coronavirus test. It's an anal swab. So research has shown that recovered COVID patients who test negative with a nasal swab are still infected with coronavirus near the rectum. Therefore, Chinese citizens under quarantine must regularly submit to the anal swab. Unsurprisingly, a poll taken at the Chinese social media site Weibo showed 80%, quote, could not accept this type of probe, but another 20% were cool with it.
I gotta say, if you are on anal swab detail, like you draw the short straw and that's your gig, you're not going to do better than China in terms of the clientele. You know what I mean? There's many Slavic states, Armenian, there's a lot of hirsute guys out there. You know what I mean? I think it would be bad news, good news. You are in charge of wiping all these guys' asses, but, here's the good news.
Could be a lot worse.
It could be a lot worse.
Could be a lot. Yeah. Have you guys had the test that goes all the way up the nose to touch the brain?
I thought I did. And then I was told that's not even the quote unquote bad one, the one that I had. They said it went midway, but
no. The one that tickles the brain, the one that goes all the way up. Depending on how far the anal one goes, I would choose the anal one.
Yeah.
I got the nose one, but they hung out around the nostril. That was going into Garagos's party. I didn't get the deep plunge on mine.
Oh, it's brutal, man. When I say the brain, obviously I'm joking because the skull's back there, but they touch the back of your sinus. It's outrageous. It's up here by the eyeball.
Is it wildly uncomfortable because it's wildly uncomfortable, or because it's so unnatural, like you don't have control over it? Like if you administered it yourself, You know what I mean? Like if you were sort of in charge of, I'll stop for a second if it feels a little weird, and then someone went, like, what if they had the swab and it was graduated? It had, 5 millimeter, 10 millimeter, 15 millimeter, and someone said you have to get it up to 18 millimeter, and you were like, okay, but
I don't think the average person could do it.
I feel like that stuff is worse because other people are doing it to you.
You're totally right. You're totally right about that. But if what I experienced wasn't the back of the brain, Brian, could you sort of easily do that one to yourself?
No. Easily, no. I could accomplish it, yes. However, Adam's right with the fact that I had it down in my car. Like I'm in the driver's seat, parked, and they come out, and the guy is not delicate. The bedside manner isn't there. It's just, Carl, there we go. Blah, blah, pull it out. There's someone else in this room must have had this done. I'm not exaggerating. I have a fairly high tolerance for pain. I've been through some shit medically, and this was unpleasant, very extremely unpleasant.
Yeah, I haven't done it, but I'm still going to talk about it as if I did for 20 minutes because that's the majesty of me. There's certain things that are painful, and we've all, getting a filling filled in or something like that. The things are painful. And then there's certain things that may be even worse, which are unnatural.
Yes, I would describe this as extreme discomfort. I know what pain is. I know what physical. It's not excruciating. It's not painful. It's extreme discomfort. Like if someone.
And with an element of unnatural, like the guys who, when they go in for their venereal disease and they're putting the swab up the guy's urethra or whatever, I don't know that that's excruciating. It just feels weird.
Yes.
Like when an uncle touches you in the wrong place. No, I've never had that. I've always heard guys describe it. And it was, and my thought was never, oh, that's got to smart, like getting your penis caught in a mousetrap or something. It was always just, that's got to feel weird.
Yeah. I just hearing about a tube or anything going up a urethra for a man, I would rather stick with what we do at the OBGYN with the whole speculum, and they really get involved with the spelunking equipment. I would rather have that than have somebody stick a pipe of some kind up my urethra.
If I worked at the clinic and I was there testing men by using the, not the COVID test, by doing the urethra swab move. If I was the physician at that clinic,
go on.
I would now this is only if the guy was wearing a hockey jersey or a cowboy hat or cowboy boots, or there was a Dodge Ram pickup truck out in the parking lot or something.
Can't wait.
I would come back and I'd be like, well, Mr. Johnson, you do not have a venereal disease. All we found, swab really didn't indicate that at all. We just found a little bit of fecal matter in there, and that's about it. So maybe there's an obstruction.
What counts as a little bit?
Well, it showed up pretty clearly on the test. So I don't want to delve into your personal life. I'm saying perhaps a condom if you're going to engage in that kind of behavior, and I would never let it go. And then more, the guy got to, what do you mean? I've been married for 21 years.
That's your business.
I'm not delving. But
your story is your story.
The cultures don't lie. And speaking of culture, I hear it's a fine culture. That would be fun to do. Yes.
Speaking of that, I got my first mammogram this week. My first 2 mammograms because I had to go back.
Oh, wait a minute, Gina. I got to ask. Now,
you know, for the end of Aliens?
You know how at the car wash they go $4 extra for vans and trucks?
I get it, sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because
I understand.
It's just a bigger job.
My
you know
copay was standard, if that answers your question.
Okay. I have to ask, you understand?
But I understand you had to ask. But I will tell you.
People listening want to know. I know, you know. But they do charge more for vans at the car wash.
That's what I understand.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, copay, the same 20 I always pay.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, I don't know if you've heard women talk about how painful a mammogram is. And they're like, oh, it's like 2 plates and they smush your boob down and it hurts like hell. You know what mine was more like? When you pinch the back of somebody's elbow. Because apparently the bigger your boobs are, it really It
oh,
doesn't,
really?
I don't feel anything. It's not a big deal at all. So they did it and they just smash it down. I'm like, are you done yet? Are you in? I can't tell. Wow. And they found like some weird stuff, whatever. And I had to go back but you know what? I've really taken on a new philosophy in my life because that should have worried me. And that should have, the old Gina would have flipped the fuck out. But I said, what am I worried about? When you tell me there's something to worry about, then I'll consider worrying. But you're just telling me you're not sure. So we'll stick with that. I went back and now I know why it hurts. They used a little, almost like a little like teacup saucer. So it was little and just slammed it down with your boob like on a table and they just mash it like you're in a vice. Wow. And that's the shit that hurts. And I feel like just my boobs were in a car accident. The airbags. I get it. I know.
Yeah. No, I wasn't making that. I was just I'm trying to figure out who the other guy was. But a
very happy guy.
Do they have guys? Are there men in those facilities?
No. I didn't see a man in this, and it's radiology, and there's no. I didn't see any.
Ooh, here's a mind bender. Sorry, Brian.
No, I was going to say.
What would you rather have? So I think there's a thing about, well, do you want a male masseuse or female masseuse? And maybe women don't feel comfortable with a male masseuse or whatever, gynecologist. So, things are intimate. So you have to disrobe in front of, but would you? So I think most women would arguably want women in there conducting the procedure.
Yeah.
But what if I gave you a choice, Gina Grad?
Okay.
Very out and amorous lesbian female.
Yeah.
Who liked a nice rack.
Sure.
Or male but gay. Now where are we at?
Ooh.
Because isn't the conceit to just not have this person sexually whatever moved in any way in this room? Like, this is a procedure. We do not want the aesthetic or the sexuality to be woven into it. And that's why we want the woman, because we go, all right, I'll have a woman do it.
They're not into it.
But what about a woman who is a lesbian who may be physically attracted to what's going on, or a gay man? What do you think?
Like Kathy Griffin once said, I love my gays, but I think in this case, I would still stick with a woman. And I have had a smoking hot male gynecologist before. In New York, we all went to the same gynecologist and he was piping hot, and he wouldn't be in the room alone with us. He would call in a nurse because I think he was afraid that one of us might try and make a move on him. But I think I'd still stick with a woman.
All right. Even if there's a sexual component to it, because she is attracted to you.
Well, then she's just bad at her job. You can't hit on somebody in a radiology.
Well, no, she's not going to hit on you, but you should be aware that she's attracted to your form. Yeah. I think that's what we're saying is if it's you don't want the male in there, but now the female. All right, so you still go with the female.
I totally get it, and I'm living out both of these scenarios in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Maybe it's my own prejudice because for whatever reason, I'm thinking the gay man's going to be like super like.
Yeah, you've turned him into a caricature.
That's on me.
Hello.
I just want someone, just kind of doing their job, and if they're into it, hey, can I blame them?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a conundrum. Sorry, Brian, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to agree with Gina that the radiology places, they do obviously MRIs, mammograms, whatever. And in my experience, the guys stick to the MRI,
the ball sack stuff,
CT, scan side of the hall.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that. Just FYI, in case anybody was wondering, it is benign, but I'll keep you posted. I don't know how you find anything in here.
Yeah,
I mean, they had to do. They're
still coming through the data.
They said they were going to do an ultrasound, and then they said they didn't need to. And I was like, "Are you sure? Okay, if you're sure,
yeah,
so,
keep us
whatever.
posted.
I will." Good. So speaking of being gay, but man, this is a tough story. But just I wanted to bring this up because we file this under the filing of what year is it again, as Adam would say. TMZ reports that two men accused of having a gay relationship in Indonesia were savagely beaten with canes after neighbors reported them to the police, which is what you do under Islamic law. The men were in their 20s, both flogged 77 times, each by a Sharia police in the county's very conservative Aceh province, where a huge crowd gathered to watch. Both men were arrested back in November.
Gathered to watch?
Oh, yeah. When police say officers tipped off by locals.
The caning part, I think, not the coitus
no,
part.
I understand, but that's still weird.
It's morbid, to say the least. They broke into their rented room because they were tipped off and found them having sex. They served 3 months in prison for this.
I'd make the worst Indonesian cop ever. Brian, you be the informant that's tipping me off. The two Indonesian guys are blowing each other in a hotel room.
Oh, assalamualaikum, officer.
Yeah,
right
back at
our neighbor, I'm the one who called the report in. Yeah, under the law, as you know, you need to take a look at what's happening next door with my neighbor and his friend.
Female friend?
No, it's a male friend, and they've been inside the house making noise for quite a while. And I think
maybe they're playing Connect 4.
They're connecting something, but I don't think it's accepted under the law that we live under. I think you need to go knock on that door.
And then what happens if we go in and we find out they're having sex? I mean, it's what, they sound one of those air horns like they do at the boat regatta?
Well, you're the police officer. You obviously have protocols.
I know we're not in America, but you know my favorite show that used to come in on the satellite when I was a young boy?
What's that?
Starsky and Hutch. Those guys were sliding over the hood of that Gran Torino. They would slap the siren on the top.
Huggy Bear, they had the informant,
You know what their favorite saying was? No time for backup. You know who they were busting? They're busting jewel thieves and pimps and murderers.
Having gay sex with each other? Because that's what I called you about. Wasting a lot of time.
Then they're going to get caned, and then we got to stand there while we're caning them.
That's the idea. Again, you are the officer.
I got a gay nephew, and I don't like the boy. Don't tell anyone I like him, but I just kind of think about him in situations like this. How about we get a bear claw and discuss this?
There's a fugitive. We can hear him now if you just put your ear up to the
there's letter of Sharia law, and then there's spirit of Sharia law.
I get it. They're violating both.
You know, what's so great about Sharia? Have you really thought about it in a while? I mean, we're caning kids and caning gay people and throwing acid on women for, not wearing a burqa. I don't know.
Boy, this blasphemous, sacrilegious discussion has really got me thinking.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not saying embrace Christianity or become a Mormon or anything like that, but I figure we both get paid the same whether we kick in the door on the gay couple or we hang out here and have another bear claw.
That's a good point. I'm getting paid nothing either way, and you're on the clock. Oh
yeah, right. Yeah, I'm on the clock. Yeah, I'll tell you what.
What's that?
Why don't you go get yourself? Get yourself a nice BLT sandwich. Okay.
Okay.
And then come back and let's just kind of,
What does that stand for? BLT sandwich?
It's just the name of a sandwich. I don't think it stands for anything.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I know
3 random letters.
Well, like they do with networks or airlines or something. Like, who knows?
Pretty sure those all stand for something. But anyway, let's not get
I'm pretty sure it's pretty sure it's lettuce and tomato. I know that part.
Okay. Big lettuce and tomato sandwich.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Grab me one.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Honey, I just need to stick this letter in the mailbox. Do I have permission to do that?
Did you ask me permission to speak to the guest on my porch?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right.
I'm sorry. You know what, officer? I have to cut this short. I've got to go beat my wife.
Okay.
Within an inch of her life, with nothing bigger than my thumb. But
I got this.
You understand.
You know, I got this new cane, and they say when you're breaking in a new cane, you shouldn't do it on a gay couple. You should just do it on a woman who's asked to mail something without permission, or some other. Some other violation of the Sharia law, because the gays with the cane, it's too much. You got to work the cane. You got to break it in. You know what I mean?
Oh, you know what they say: new cane beats clean.
Right. All right. All right. Get that BLT.
Okay.
If you enjoy it, don't come back.
Can do. Honey, order the BLT and then get ready for a beating.
Okay.
And scene. Ugh.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier in the week, you kind of judge these societies by how they treat women, but it's really how they treat gays.
Yeah.
That's really how you judge a society,
Well, I've brought it up before, but there is a documentary on HBO called Welcome to Chechnya, and that is all you'll ever need to see when it comes to how a society treats gay people.
Subtitle, Who's Tired of Beating Off? Because that's what I hear.
It's implied.
Yeah.
That's right.
This could add hours to my next session.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's move on to PETA. Let's move on to the other side of the spectrum. People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, better known as PETA, was mocked on social media this week for a tweet that argued calling someone names like a pig or a chicken or a snake is hurtful to the animals themselves. Tweet that they put up. Come on, be serious. This is a serious tweet. Words, and I think we have the tweet as well. Words can create a more Words can create Words can create a more inclusive world or perpetuate suppression. Calling someone an animal as an insult reinforces the myth that humans are superior to animals and justified in violating them. Stand up for justice by rejecting supremacist language. PETA suggests that instead of calling someone a chicken, you call them a coward, or a rat is a snitch, or a snake is a jerk, or a pig is repulsive, or a sloth is lazy.
We're looking at a chart here, and I would argue that making the chart with the equivalent word to animal really hurts your points.
Right. Yeah. It's always, it's my argument. I didn't mean gay like homosexual. I mean gay like lame.
Yeah, not chicken like a bird. Chicken like a dirty coward.
Yeah.
I didn't mean lame like somebody who's disabled.
Yeah, I mean like lame gay, Yeah. Come on. I'm not uptight.
Right.
Yeah, sloth, lazy. By the way, sloths are lazy. If they don't know it, someone should tell them. Maybe they should up their game.
They can't. When I went to Costa Rica, I learned all about the sloths. They only eat leaves, and so their metabolism is through the basement floor. That's as fast as they can go.
All right. Well, we'll grandfather them in, but either way.
That's what I'm saying. They're not even lazy. They just can't move any faster.
I got to believe PETA is going to go after mascots next, right?
Oh, I think that's the real life ones like Ralphie. They've they've gone out for them for years.
Ralphie the Buffalo at Colorado. Yeah.
But like you're talking about like caricatures.
Yeah.
I hate those too. Why do they have to, like with the buffaloes and stuff? Like, what are you doing?
They're going to find the Philly fanatic problematic in like the next 10 minutes if I know where this society is heading. All right, let's do one more, Gina Gran.
Oh, good. Well, speaking of animals, let's do another story that contrasts the last story. Sasquatch in Oklahoma is going to have a big target on its back if one state lawmaker gets a new bill passed. Republican Justin Humphrey introduced a bill to establish an official Bigfoot hunting season. If the bill passes, anyone venturing out into the woods hoping to get more than just a blurry picture of Bigfoot has to pay for a license to do so. But Humphrey makes it clear that he's not calling on people to actually kill Bigfoot. He's asking hunters to simply trap or capture Bigfoot using non-lethal methods. He also wants to secure a $25,000 prize for the first person to nab Bigfoot.
Okay. In this,
COVID is still a thing.
Yes, and also all this stuff, there was sort of plausibility to all of it when I was a kid. You guys are a little too young, but there was a lot of Bigfoot and UFO and Loch Ness Monster stuff, and it was a lot of a grainy picture of a shadowy whatever.
We came out, well, I don't know about Gina, she's much younger than me, but and I came up in the era of Unsolved Mysteries, so that got a real boost in my youth.
Robert Stack.
There was a lot of it, and it was all kind of plausible because it was like this camper squeezed off this grainy black and white photo shortly before he met his demise at the hands of Bigfoot or whatever. He found his camera at the campsite. Everybody with a phone, ring doorbells everywhere, a camera on every intersection, every corner, a drone buzzing over anything. If there was a Bigfoot or a Loch Ness Monster, we would know.
Sure.
I mean, you could literally just do one of those construction time-lapse ones where you could go outside of Loch Ness, put a stick in the ground, put one of those cameras that's good for 3 months that shoots a still shot every 2 seconds. And if we don't see anything, then it doesn't exist. Like if in fact there was a Bigfoot, given the amount of people that are spread out in the wilderness with their smartphones, we would have high-def footage of Bigfoot, right?
Well, Gina, you and I saw the Jamal Khashoggi documentary, The Descent, earlier this week. And
Dissident.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Dissident. Thank you very much. And the people who wanted to get away with the crime were captured on video every step of the way, leaving the embassy, going to the trash can, changing. Like they wanted to get away with the crime. They wanted to hide, and they were captured every step.
They're not just a magical creature minding their own business. They're trying to get away. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
but people in I've only heard about it in the Pacific Northwest. They go squatching, which is like looking for Sasquatch, and it's a perfectly reasonable way to spend a weekend. So there are still believers.
Yeah, but maybe that's the sort of Sasquatch Pacific Northwest version of ice fishing, which is I really want to get drunk and tell racist jokes, and I don't want that fucking ball and chain judging me the whole time.
You're right.
Going squatching.
Going squatching. All right, let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
Well, last but not least, there's Geico. Do you rent your home? Sure you do. I bet you work hard and you want to save some money. So get some bundling going. Take your homeowners or your renters insurance and bundle it up with your automotive policy. Save a bunch of time, save a bunch of money. Go to geico.com, see just how much you could be saving, and see just how easy it is to bundle at geico.com. Do it today at geico.com. All right, I want to thank Jeff Ross and Cousin Sal and Vinnie Tortorich and Gina and Bald and this Adam Carolla saying mahalo.